It all started with a whisper. Did you hear about Nora and Jordan? The rumor spread through our neighborhood like wildfire, and soon enough, the painful truth reached my ears. Nora, my wife of 10 years, was having an affair with her supermarket manager, Jordan. The betrayal cut deep, and I felt like the foundation of my life had been pulled out from under me. It was a typical Friday evening when I first heard the whispers. I had just come home from a long day at work, looking forward to the weekend. As I approached our house, I saw Mrs. Harrison, our elderly neighbor, standing by her garden fence, chatting with another neighbor, Diane. "Christian," Mrs. Harrison called out, her voice tinged with something that I couldn't quite place. "How are you doing, dear?" "I'm good, Mrs. Harrison. Just tired from work," I replied, trying to muster a smile. Diane glanced at me, then quickly looked away. I could feel the tension in the air. Something was off. I decided to brush it off and went inside. Later that evening, I was in the kitchen, preparing dinner. Nora was working late at the supermarket, or so I thought. As I was chopping vegetables, the phone rang. It was my friend Mark, his voice unusually serious. "Hey, Christian. There's something you need to know," he began. My heart sank as he told me about the rumors. People had seen Nora and Jordan together, looking far too close for comfort. After the call, I sat at the kitchen table, my mind racing. I needed to confront Nora, but I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was all a misunderstanding. I waited for her to come home, my thoughts a chaotic mess. It was past 10 p.m. when Nora walked in, her face flushed from the cold night air. She looked surprised to see me still up. "Christian, you're still awake," she said, setting her bag down and slipping off her coat. "Nora, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She hesitated and sat across from me. "What is it?" I took a deep breath. "I've heard some things about you and Jordan." Her eyes widened, and for a moment I saw a flash of guilt. "What have you heard?" "People are saying that you're having an affair with him. Is it true?" Nora looked down at her hands, silent. The room felt like it was closing in on me. Finally she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, it's true." The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I struggled to find my voice. "Why, Nora? Why would you do this?" She looked up, tears in her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to happen, Christian. It just did. Jordan and we connected in a way that I haven't felt in years." "Connected?" I echoed, incredulous. "We've been married for 10 years, Nora. We've built a life together. How could you throw it all away?" Tears streamed down her face. "I'm sorry, Christian. I never wanted to hurt you, but I can't deny my feelings. Jordan and I were in love." The words stung like 1,000 knives. Love? She was in love with another man. Our marriage, our life together, meant nothing to her now. I stood up, unable to look at her. "I think you should leave." She nodded, wiping her tears. "I'll pack some things and stay with Jordan for now. We can talk about the divorce later." Divorce? The final nail in the coffin. As she went upstairs to pack, I sat there, numb. The woman I had loved, the life we had shared, was slipping away from me. The divorce was swift and bitter. Nora moved in with Jordan, who left his own wife, Annika, for her. I was left alone in the house we once shared, haunted by memories of happier times. My work as an engineer seemed pointless now, my heart no longer in it. I handed in my resignation, unsure of what the future held. As I walked out of my office for the last time, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. The whispers in the neighborhood shifted focus to me, the lonely man who had lost everything. But as I stood on the threshold of an uncertain future, I knew one thing for sure. I had to find a way to rebuild my life, piece by broken piece. One morning, as I was out pulling weeds in the garden, Mrs. Harrison approached me. She was carrying a basket of freshly baked cookies, her ever-watchful eyes filled with concern. "Christian, dear, how are you holding up?" she asked, handing me the basket. I forced a smile. "I'm doing all right, Mrs. Harrison, just trying to keep busy." She nodded sympathetically. "I can't imagine what you're going through. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you, Mrs. Harrison. I appreciate it. As she walked away, I couldn't help but feel like a charity case. The neighborhood's pity was suffocating. I needed to escape, if only for a little while. That evening, I decided to visit the local bar. I hadn't been out socially since the divorce, and the thought of being around people was both daunting and necessary. As I entered the dimly lit bar, I spotted Mark sitting alone at a table, nursing a beer. "Christian," he called out, waving me over. "Haven't seen you in ages. Sit down, have a drink." I joined him, ordering a beer. "How's it going, Mark?" He shrugged. Same old, same old. How about you? Heard you quit your job." I took a sip of my beer, the bitterness matching my mood. Yeah, needed a break. Trying to figure out what's next. Mark leaned in, his expression serious. "Listen, Christian, you can't let this thing with Nora destroy you. She's not worth it." "I know," I replied, staring into my beer. "But it's hard. 10 years of my life, gone just like that." He nodded. "I get it, but you've got to pick yourself up. Do something for yourself. Hell, take a trip, start a new hobby. Anything to get out of this funk." His words lingered with me as I left the bar that night. Maybe he was right. Maybe I needed to find something new to focus on. The next day, as I walked through the town, I passed a convenience store. On a whim, I went in and bought a lottery ticket. It was a small act, but it felt like a step towards reclaiming my life. Days turned into weeks, and the lottery ticket lay forgotten in a drawer. I continued my aimless routine, trying to find some semblance of purpose. One afternoon, as I sat on my porch reading, Diane, the neighbor who had been gossiping with Mrs. Harrison, approached me. "Christian, can I talk to you for a minute?" she asked, her tone unusually hesitant. "Sure, Diane. What's on your mind?" She shifted uncomfortably. "I wanted to apologize. I know I've been part of the gossip about you. It was wrong, and I'm sorry." Her apology caught me off guard. "Thank you, Diane. I appreciate that." She nodded, a hint of relief in her eyes. "You're a good man, Christian. I hope you find happiness again." As she walked away, I felt a small glimmer of hope. Maybe things could get better. Maybe, just maybe, there was a light at the end of this dark tunnel. That evening, I remembered the lottery ticket. With a mix of curiosity and resignation, I checked the numbers online. My heart raced as I realized I had won $7 million. The disbelief was overwhelming. Could this really be happening? Winning the lottery was surreal. I had gone from feeling like the world had left me behind to holding the keys to a new future. As the shock of my windfall began to wear off, I started planning my next steps carefully. I decided to keep my winnings a secret for the time being, not wanting the neighborhood gossip mill to spin into overdrive. The first thing I did was consult with a financial advisor. Mr. Thompson, a seasoned professional, greeted me warmly at his office. "Mr. Keller, congratulations on your win," he said with a smile, motioning for me to sit down. "Let's talk about how we can make this money work for you." "Thanks, Mr. Thompson. I'm not sure where to start," I admitted, still feeling overwhelmed by the turn of events. He nodded. "That's perfectly normal. The most important thing is to stay grounded. We'll set up a diversified portfolio to ensure your money grows and sustains you in the long run." We spent hours discussing investments, trusts, and savings plans. By the end of the meeting, I felt more secure and had a clearer vision of my financial future. I left his office with a renewed sense of purpose. With my financial matters in good hands, I turned my attention to the next phase of my life. I decided to start my own business, something I had always dreamed of but never had the means to pursue. I envisioned a tech company that specialized in developing innovative software solutions, drawing on my background as an engineer. One afternoon, as I was sketching out business ideas at a cafe, I ran into an old colleague, Sarah. "Christian, is that you?" she asked, her eyes wide with surprise. "Sarah. It's been a while," I replied, standing up to give her a hug. "How have you been?" Good. Still with the same company, grinding away. What about you? I heard you left." "Yeah, I needed a change. I'm actually thinking about starting my own business." She raised an eyebrow. "Really? That's exciting. What kind of business?" "Software development. I have some ideas for apps and tech solutions that I think could really take off." Sarah smiled. "You always were the ambitious one. If you need any help or advice, don't hesitate to reach out." "Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate that." As we caught up, I realized how much I had missed social interactions. The divorce had made me retreat into myself, but reconnecting with old friends gave me a sense of belonging. One evening, as I was finalizing some business plans, my phone rang. It was Nora. My heart raced as I answered, unsure of what to expect. "Christian," she began, her voice hesitant. "Can we meet? I need to talk to you." I took a deep breath. "All right. Where?" "How about the park? By the lake where we used to go." "Okay. I'll see you there." The next day, I arrived at the park with a mix of anxiety and curiosity. Nora was already there, sitting on a bench by the lake, looking lost in thought. As I approached, she looked up, her expression a blend of guilt and sorrow. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. "What's going on, Nora?" I asked, sitting down beside her. She sighed deeply. "Things with Jordan, they're not working out. We argue all the time, and he lost his job. I made a mistake, Christian. I thought I was in love, but it was just a distraction from everything that was wrong in our marriage." I listened silently, my emotions a turbulent mix of anger, sadness, and a strange sense of vindication. "I know I hurt you," she continued, "and I don't expect you to forgive me. But I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Truly." I looked at her, searching for the right words. "Nora, what you did broke me. I won't lie about that. But I'm moving forward now. I've started to rebuild my life." She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "I'm glad to hear that. I wish things had been different." I stood up, looking out at the calm lake. "We can't change the past, Nora. We can only learn from it and move on." As I walked away, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Nora's apology, while late, gave me a sense of closure. The past no longer had a hold on me. I was free to focus on my future. Back home, I threw myself into my new venture. With the lottery winnings, I secured office space and started hiring a small team. The excitement of building something from the ground up was invigorating. I was finally taking control of my destiny. One evening, after a particularly productive day, I decided to treat myself to dinner at a nice restaurant. As I was waiting for my meal, I noticed Annika, Jordan's ex-wife, sitting alone at a nearby table. She looked up and saw me, her face lighting up with recognition. "Christian, hi. Fancy seeing you here," she said, coming over to my table. "Annika, hi. Would you like to join me?" I offered, gesturing to the empty seat. "Sure, I'd love to." As we chatted, I learned that Annika had also been trying to rebuild her life after her divorce. She had started a small catering business and was finding joy in her work. "It's been tough," she admitted, "but also liberating. I finally feel like I'm doing something for myself." "I know exactly what you mean," I replied. "Starting my own business has given me a new sense of purpose." Annika smiled. "It sounds like we're both on a path to new beginnings." The events of the past months had been a whirlwind of emotions and changes, but that evening in a cozy restaurant marked the beginning of a new chapter. Annika and I sat at a corner table, savoring the aroma of our dishes and the warm atmosphere around us. We talked and laughed as if all the past troubles and pain were far away, belonging to another time. "Annika, I hadn't felt that calm and happy in a long time," I confessed, leaning back in my chair. After everything that had happened, I thought I would be recovering for a long while. Annika smiled, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of relief and joy. "Me too, Jordan. Those past months had been a real test, but I was glad we were able to go through it and find each other." Our conversation was sincere and deep. We discussed our past mistakes, the lessons we had learned, and shared dreams about the future. Annika was brimming with ideas and plans, and I listened eagerly, realizing this was the start of something special. From that evening on, Our relationship started to blossom rapidly. We spent more time together, getting closer with each passing day. We discovered so much in common, and each new revelation only strengthened our bond. A few weeks after our dinner at the restaurant, Annika and I decided that we wanted to be together not only in our personal lives, but also in our work. We started planning a joint venture, a small startup focused on developing apps for people with disabilities. I think we could do something really important, I said as we discussed our plans. We had the resources and skills to help people. Annika agreed wholeheartedly. Yes, and this would be a great way to apply our experience and knowledge for the benefit of others. Our work progressed swiftly, and soon we launched our first project. It received positive feedback and support, reinforcing our confidence that we were on the right path. One evening, after a successful meeting with investors, I paused at the door of our home and turned to Annika. You know, Annika, I believed everything that had happened wasn't by chance, I said. All those trials and difficulties had led us to find each other and start this project. I believe we could achieve a lot together. Annika came closer, taking my hand. I think so too, Jordan. We would go through everything together and accomplish much. With those words, we entered our home, knowing that ahead of us lay new horizons and opportunities. Our relationship grew stronger with each passing day, and we were prepared for whatever challenges life might bring us.